Hi, I'm Sarah Clear and I work at the Rediscovery Centre, and welcome to this virtual video workshop on climate action. So this workshop is part of the Going Green with the Library initiative with Westmeath Libraries, and it's very kindly funded by the Dormant Accounts Funding. If you have any questions on this video or you'd like to find out more about our workshops, please contact us using these details. Thank you. So this video is going to include an introduction to the Rediscovery Centre. Then we're going to examine climate change, the science, the causes and the effects. And then we're going to get stuck into climate action. So what is climate action? What's happening around the world? And how can you get involved? What can you guys do as individuals, as a class, and also in your school community as well? So the Rediscovery Centre, we're the National Centre for the Circular Economy, and we're based in Ballymun in North Dublin. And a lot of what we do is trying to encourage people to low carbon green living and more sustainable living as well. So part of what we do is we take unwanted materials, what people view as waste, and we redesign, reuse and recreate them and make them into products that can stay in the community, in the economy for longer. So some of our aims are to divert waste from landfills because that causes big environmental problems. We also provide community employment training, and we're all about inspiring sustainable living as well. So we've got a number of social enterprises. This is where we take unwanted materials and we upcycle, repair, reuse them in as creative as a way as we can. So we work with a lot of craftspeople. We also work with trainees as well who are learning these skills, scientists, environmentalists. So some of the social enterprises we have include Rediscover Furniture, Fashion, Paint and Bikes. So in our furniture department, we take donations of unwanted furniture items, and we also get them from recycling centres as well. We bring them back here to our workshop, and we strip them down and reuse them, recreate them, repair them, whatever needs to be done with them. So some of the things we do might be to repair broken chairs. Other really exciting projects that we've done are things like these guitars. So these guitars were made from old broken wardrobes, so we're giving them a new lease of life. We also get bicycles from recycling centres. So normally they would be melted down for scrap metal, which is causing environmental issues because of the energy that it's using and the greenhouse gas emissions in terms of melting down that metal, and also any of the byproducts, any of the waste products as well coming from that. So what we do is we take any of these old unwanted bikes, we bring them back, strip them down completely and rebuild them. The only new part we'll ever put on a bike is the brakes for safety. Otherwise, we will use parts from other bikes to rebuild them. With our paint, what usually happens if you bring paint to a recycling centre is it's normally shipped to Germany and incinerated. Again, causing environmental problems, air pollution, water pollution as well, and also all the transportation and greenhouse gas emissions that are associated with that. So we go to recycling centres and we get water-based paint that is usable. We bring it back here, clean it, strain it, and then we have it for sale at €1 a litre instead of the usual price of €15 a litre. Everything we do is all about high quality as well, so that paint is really, really high quality. We also have a fashion department where we take unwanted textiles and other items as well, such as plastic bags, such as the bags from IKEA that you can see in the image there. A lot of these items might have ended up in a landfill or could have ended up being ragged, so leading to lower quality. We're all about reuse as actual high quality as well, so keeping these things in the economy for longer, adding value to them as well. Another big thing we do at the Rediscovery Centre is research. So we do a lot of European and national level research in terms of the circular economy, sustainability, and also environmental science too. We also have a big education department where we work with schools, libraries, community groups, and different other interested people. We provide education workshops all about things to do with the environment, and also science, engineering, and maths as well. So today we're going to be talking about climate action. So what do you think of when you hear of climate change? So you guys can work in groups and write them down on a piece of paper, or if you want to get a little bit more creative, you could create your own word cloud. So ways of doing this, there's lots of free apps out there that you can use to create a word cloud and get everyone in the class involved in this. The one we often use is called Poll Everywhere, and you can create a free account and create a really, really cool word cloud as well, thinking about what images, what pictures, what text come into your head when you hear of climate change. What do you think of? So at the moment, there is a big global climate crisis. So climate change is happening right now. It is becoming more and more and more of an issue. And I'm sure you guys are very aware, I suppose, particularly before COVID, but even in this situation now, we're always hearing about these protests for climate change. People getting involved, advocating to governments and at international level as well, and scientists as well, talking about all the issues that are being caused at the moment by climate change. Climate change is real. It is an undeniable fact. It is happening, and it is happening right now. Every single one of us has a responsibility. We are contributing to climate change. We need to do something about it. We need to understand what climate change is. We need to understand a bit of the science behind it and the effects. And then all of us need to change, create small changes or big changes in our life that are actually going to help this issue as well. It's not just down to governments. They have a very large responsibility, but it's also down to individual responsibility. What can we do? In order to find effective solutions to climate change, we need to have some knowledge and understanding of the science, the causes, and the effects. So we're going to focus first of all on the science. The Earth's climate is not constant, but it does vary over a very wide timescale. What happens on our planet is we've got a layer of protective gases, the atmosphere, and what the atmosphere actually does, when the sun is shining down, the sun's energy, it naturally comes through the atmosphere and heats our planet. Otherwise, we'd be on a frozen planet. So what happens normally is some of the heat is trapped, but some of the heat and energy is also reflected back out into space, and that keeps our planet not too hot and not too cold. So that's what our atmosphere does, and it's a combination of gases that we naturally have in our atmosphere that actually leads to those effects. But what happens with greenhouse gases is they act like an insulating blanket, trapping in a lot more of that heat instead of it being radiated back out into space. So what's happening is, as a globe, as the world, our environment is actually heating up, which isn't equal all across the planet. There's different effects in different places. Without our atmosphere, the average temperature on Earth would be minus 18 degrees Celsius instead of the 15 degrees Celsius it is now. So it is hospitable to life and for humans as well. So the greenhouse gases are water vapor, carbon dioxide, which is the one we hear a lot about, methane. So methane is actually even worse of a greenhouse gas. It has even more of an insulating effect than carbon dioxide. There's just less of it. But as humans, from human activities, we are emitting a lot of methane as well, particularly through agriculture. Nitrous oxide, so N2O, and chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs as well. So these are all the greenhouse gases, and these are the ones that are contributing to climate change. So these are all the greenhouse gases, and these are how they're contributing to climate change. We've got carbon dioxide, and a lot of the carbon dioxide greenhouse gas emissions come from transportation, fossil fuels, coal and crude oil. With methane, it's usually agriculture, natural gas systems, and also landfill as well. So as things are decomposing, they release methane into the environment as well. Nitrogen oxide is caused by cars, manufacturing, and the ways that we're managing our soil for agriculture. So all the different greenhouse gases are coming from different kind of areas and releasing different amounts of greenhouse gases as well. So it's really important to know what the greenhouse gases are, that it's not just carbon dioxide, there's all these other greenhouse gases as well, and where are they actually coming from. So what I'm going to get you guys to do now is I want you to think about how our actions affect climate change. So I've sent your teachers some teachers' notes with this activity in here as well, so you'll have all the details there for how our actions are actually affecting climate change, how what we're doing every single day is impacting on our climate. So if you want to take the time now and go through that activity. So our action is you're hungry and you decide to buy apples. So you drive to the shop, collect your apples in the packaging and bring them home. Something we don't think a lot about, but when we think about it from a climate and a greenhouse gas emissions point of view, there's actually a lot of greenhouse gases involved with this particular activity. You've got greenhouse gases from the transportation in the shop as well, so in terms of heating or cooling or even setting up the shop, keeping the lights going. Also in terms of the packaging that's being used and the transportation on the way home as well. But behind this one action of what we see is happening, there is a lot more that's actually going on in order to get the apples to us so we can eat them. So at a production stage, if you're a Brazilian agro-business, which is growing the apples, so from the land use, from the pesticides, from the production factories, from the packaging to the transportation, all of those things are leading to greenhouse gas emissions. At the packaging stage, if you're an owner of a plastic packaging firm, the crude oil needs to be drilled and produced and made into your plastic packaging, which needs to be transported, which then needs to be packaged until it ends up surrounding our apples, which are then ready to be sent to a shop. And again, there's a huge amount of greenhouse gas emissions behind every single stage in this process. At the disposal stage, you've eaten the apples and you've put them into the black bin. So there's greenhouse gas emissions from the truck collecting the waste, and there's a huge amount of greenhouse gas emissions from landfill as well. So what we think of as a very, very small step, just us driving to the shop and getting apples, coming home and eating them, there's a huge amount in the background of what's actually happening. So our actions are having a huge impact, and it's all these hidden effects that we're not seeing, but that we need to be examining when we're making choices about what we're buying and what we're doing and how our actions are actually affecting climate change. So if we buy local, we're preventing a lot of those greenhouse gas emissions because there's less transportation involved. If we buy from our local shop instead of travelling further, again, we're saving on those greenhouse gas emissions. If we buy things that aren't packaged, again, we're actually saving those greenhouse gas emissions from the production stage and the packaging stage of the plastic. And composting and recycling is another really, really important step in this. So we can see by making small changes, we can actually have quite a big influence and a big impact on greenhouse gas emissions as well. So the causes of climate change, scientists have definitively proven that there is a link between the energy we use and climate change. When we burn fossil fuels, we produce energy. To produce energy, we release carbon dioxide, which is the main greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. Land use, deforestation, use of fertilizers, agriculture, transportation, all of these are also emitting greenhouse gases. Increased greenhouse gas concentrations are actually leading to more and more and more of the greenhouse effect, which is leading to increased temperatures all around the world. So even when you guys were born, there was a lot less greenhouse gases that were in our environment compared to what they are now. When your parents were small, again, greenhouse gases were a lot lower. Year upon year upon year, greenhouse gas concentrations are increasing and increasing and increasing. And some of this is to do with the increasing population, but it's also all about the way that we're living and what we're choosing to do and our actions. So what happens naturally in the environment is naturally carbon dioxide levels naturally fluctuate through over time, but it fluctuates slowly. And for millennia, so for millions and millions of years, atmospheric carbon dioxide had never been above about 300 parts per million. 1950, human beings exceeded that level and caused an excess of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, in the atmosphere. It is currently at 400 parts per million, which is an absolutely enormous increase in 70 years. The trends of greenhouse gases have also gone up since even 1979. So you can see here that the parts per million are increasing constantly for carbon dioxide, for nitrous oxide, and for methane again. So you can see there's a little bit of seasonal fluctuations, which is quite natural, but there is a definite upward trend in these greenhouse gas emissions that we're finding in the atmosphere. So this is an image of the greenhouse gas emissions by sector. So you can see a lot of greenhouse gas emissions are GHG, are caused by energy, by agriculture, and by land use sources. Waste as well is quite high. Transportation is quite high. So you can see exactly where the greenhouse gas emissions are actually coming from. And you can see again, every single one of those sources, it's increasing and increasing year on year. So in Ireland itself, so if we want to examine a little bit more locally rather than just globally, agriculture, energy, industries and transport account for 72% of all of our greenhouse gas emissions. Residential is still pretty high at nearly 10%. Public services would be quite low at 1.5%. So when we're looking at climate change, we need to be looking at what the causes are, where is it coming from, and what can we do to change this. And it's really important to understand where it's coming from. The effects of climate change. So the trapped heat causes the atmosphere to slowly heat up. But as I said earlier, this is not equal in all parts of the world because everywhere has a slightly different climate, there's slightly different conditions. So what's actually happening around the world is temperature, wind and rainfall patterns are changing faster than humans and animals and plants can adapt to it. It is changing faster now than it ever has in human history. We are seeing the impact on shifting weather patterns. Even in Ireland, we're getting a lot more extreme conditions such as floods, droughts and storms. They're on the increase all around the world and in Ireland as well. So you'll know that in the last couple of years, we've had much more storms and heavier storms that are more destructive. We've had more extreme flooding as well, and this is continuing all the time. We're having more and more and more extreme weather events. And around the world, there's actually, we're hearing about it on the news all the time. Sometimes we don't connect that to climate change. So even things like wildfires, extreme monsoon conditions, in places like Bangladesh, all of those things are actually being exacerbated or made worse by climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. So this is the average temperature anomalies from 1850 to 2018. And again, you can see that temperatures are rising on a global scale. Extreme weather is also on the rise, as you can see from this image here, with the number of floods increasing, the number of droughts, the number of storms. and this is happening all around the world. One of the most extreme is the the increase in temperatures in the Arctic and Antarctic, which is causing ice caps to melt and this rate of melting is happening at a faster and faster rate. So this is a picture of the Apsala Glacier in Patagonia in Argentina, which is in the very far south of Argentina. So this is a picture taken in 1928 in September of the glacial ice cap. And this picture was taken in 2004 on the same day at the same time of the year. And you can see what a drastic change is actually happening on this glacier. So now we've sent on the hands-on activity about the effects of climate change. So if you guys would like to work in groups, and your teacher can give you out the resources and the materials for that activity. And again, it's all about examining the effects of climate change. So what can we do? This is all about climate action then. What can we do? What can we do to make a difference? What's happening around the world to make a difference? Can we get inspired? Can we inspire others? So the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 13 is climate action. And this is something that a lot of people are getting more and more concerned about as we're hearing more about the science, the effects, and the causes of climate change. So 2020 is the year of climate change. There's a huge amount of global strikes happening all the time that you guys might have been involved with as well. There's a lot of people, and young people of your age as well, who are really passionate and know that something needs to be done about this. And hopefully you guys will start getting really engaged, and hopefully you'll want to do something about this, because it is something all of us need to help change and work together on as well. So climate action means taking concrete, efficient and effective measures at all levels. It's not just, it is the governments, it is international, but it's ourselves as well. We all need to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases, be able to adapt to climate change, be able to try and stop climate change from happening through mitigation. We need financial help for the most vulnerable, as to what's already occurring, the effects that are already occurring of climate change as well. Because there isn't equality throughout the world, very sadly, and in some countries that have a lot less money than we do, and communities that have less money than we are very lucky to have, they are actually feeling more of the effects in certain places as well. So we need to think about that too. What can we do to help those people? So actions can include climate change measures, international policies, strategies and planning, improving education, that's a huge thing, and awareness raising as well, to make sure everyone understands the issues and their implications. By changing our diet, by changing the way we go to school or work, changing the way we shop, what we buy, how many times we go shopping, all those things can have a big impact as well. Get vocal, join campaigns or strikes, and use your vote, use your voice. Social media can get you to raise awareness with friends, family, and even people in the wider community as well. So if you'd like to stop the video here and have a chat to see if you guys have any other ideas of what you could do or what you'd like to be involved with climate action. So in 2018, Greta Thunberg began protesting outside the Swedish Parliament during school hours with a sign that said school strike for the climate, and she's continued to strike every Friday, and she has been so inspirational to hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. Young people are getting more and more and more involved, and adults and governments and policymakers are listening when you're talking. So do get vocal about it, do speak about what you're passionate about and see what a change you can make. There's lots of networks of students, teachers, schools in Ireland calling for urgent action as well to ensure a just and more sustainable future. Just for you guys to get a little bit inspired, this is something that a secondary school in Ireland has done. In 2018, Newport Comprehensive were the first Irish school to ban single-use plastics in their school. And lots of other schools have done this as well, and they've adopted the same policy. Some schools organise uniform swap shops or book swap shops for school books. So all of these things are going to make a real and measurable difference to climate emissions. You can actually calculate how much carbon emissions you're actually saving by every kilogram of clothes as well. So by reusing or donating 1 kilogram of clothes, you are saving 3.6 kilograms in carbon emissions. So you are able to calculate and you are able to measure how good what you're doing is. So now it's time for your climate action plan. So during this activity, I'd like you guys to work in your groups, get passionate, think about what you could do, what changes could you make to do something about climate change. So again, your teacher has all the activities and all the materials needed there to help you guys on the road to creating a plan about what you can do for your school and for your community. So thank you all very much. I really hope that you've enjoyed the workshop today. If you'd like any more information on this video or any of our other workshops, please contact us at rediscoverycentre.ie or using the contact details there. Thank you all very much.